mayor will probably be joining us a little bit late this evening. He had another meeting that started at 4 o'clock this afternoon and didn't know how soon he was going to be done with that to join us. So we anticipate him joining us during our meeting. We do have a quorum present, so we'll go ahead and get started. We presume that our other couple council members will be joining us as we get going this evening also. So to begin with, I've asked Councilman Staley to give our opening prayer, and Councilman Nyson will lead us in the pledge.
Our Father in heaven, we are grateful to be gathered here this evening in Washington City. We're grateful for citizenship which we enjoy in this town, and state, and this country. At this time, as we look forward to Veterans Day tomorrow, we express our gratitude for those who have sacrificed, for those who continue to sacrifice for the freedoms that we enjoy in this land. Father, we're grateful for the opportunities. We're grateful for the challenges that make us stronger. Pray, Father, that this evening thou would guide our discussions, that they may be civil and productive. We ask that thou would help us to have wisdom in the decisions that are made. Again, we express our gratitude unto thee, and we do so in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Please stand and join in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you, Councilman. I certainly appreciate your efforts in that. We have, looks like 11 items on our agenda. I'll look for a motion to approve our agenda this evening.
So moved, Mayor Pro Tem.
Motion by Councilman Staley,
Second,
second by Councilman Nyson.
Nyson, aye.
Staley, aye.
Turek, aye. Item number 2, announcements. I think Councilman Staley was very elegantly reminded us that tomorrow is Veterans Day. We certainly want to express our gratitude and thanks to those veterans, wherever they may be, and those that, hopefully there's some tuned in this evening with us, those that watch us later. We certainly appreciate their services and whatnot. We do have a parade. It starts, I believe, at 11 tomorrow. And I just was told the significance of the 11-11-11. That's when the treaty was signed. So certainly appreciate that. So just immediately following the parade, we have a great program that's put together by Mr. Burke Staley and his committee down here. And so we invite everyone to come and join with them, partake of that. Many of you have seen the Field of Flags that's out there this evening. We have the elementary kids that join in there. It's just a great, great day in our community with our elementary kids and our veterans and joining together in a celebration. Any other announcements that we know that need to share? Great. Move on to item number 3, declaration of abstentions and conflicts. Any to declare this evening? All right. Item number 4, our consent agenda. Approval of the minutes of the city council meetings from 10/27/15 and 10/28/15, and the board audit report. I guess before we look for a motion, is there any questions concerning the board audit report?
I didn't have any questions.
Just for the public's information, the board audit report is basically the physical expenditures expended by the city for the last month. Every month, the council goes over those, and there's sometimes we have questions to what expenditures were spent. And as of tonight, sometimes the everything is explained very well. We can understand what's there. So then we'll go ahead and look for a motion to approve our consent agenda.
A motion that we approve the consent agenda consisting of the council meeting minutes of 10/27/15 and 10/28/15 and the October board audit report.
Thank you, Councilman Staley.
I'll second that.
Second, Councilman Nyson.
Nyson, aye.
Staley, aye.
Turek, aye. Item number 5, canvassing. Consideration to approve the canvassing of the November 3rd general municipal election results. City Recorder Denise Bullock.
Good evening. Okay, since the night of the elections, there were 89, let's see, 96 ballots that hadn't been counted. Since that time, we've got them counted. There were 4 that were not registered, so we couldn't count those. 2 of them were incomplete, so they hadn't signed the back of their ballot. And then one of them had not come in and proved their proof of residency. If they vote provisionally and they can bring in their identification later, the vote will count, and they didn't make it in. So that one didn't count. The forms that I sent out before, there was a small error in the total of votes that were counted. So we had a 25.5% turnout now that everything's in, counting the absentees and the provisionals and everything. So the ending totals were Troy Belliston at 1,434, Colleen Granger 1,348, Jeff Turek 1,207, Bill Hudson 910, Gene Arbuckle 904, and Bradford Allen 1,115. Are there any questions? I believe I sent the breakdown to everybody on those.
Great. Thank you, Denise, for you and your staff in handling the election process. And I know it's a big process, so thank you.
Thank you.
We'll look for a motion to approve the canvassing of our elections.
Congratulations to you, Mayor Pro Tem, and to the other new council members who will be joining us very soon, or be joining you very soon. I'll go ahead and make the motion that we approve the canvassing of the November 3rd general municipal election results as stated by our city recorder, Denise Boland.
Thank you, Councilman Staley.
And I'll second that.
Councilman Nyson seconded.
Nice and I.
Staley, aye.
Turek, aye. Item 6, a preliminary plat. Consideration to approve the preliminary plat for the Warner Gateway located at approximately east of Mulberry Way, 4600 South. Applicant Corbin Church.
Thank you, council. This is a request for the preliminary plat for the Warner Gateway subdivision as stated. The applicant is wishing to develop 150 lots on an area covering 34.84 acres. There was a previously request on this a couple months back, and it was for 162 lots on the same acreage. The location at this particular project, the zoning is single family residential, 6,000 square foot minimum, or referred to as the R16. Now, the proposed subdivision conforms to the subdivision requirements and other city ordinances as it relates to this particular location. The one problem in the area that staff found on the request is the fact that there's only one ingress-egress roadway available, which is Marlberry Way, which is part of the Stuckey Farms, and you can see it here, but that's been well documented in our meetings. And with that said, staff is requiring, and it is, I made a condition on the report, that only 30 lots would be able to apply for final plat status until the time that other ingress and egress points will be established as growth occurs to either the north or the south boundary lines of the subdivision. The applicant agreed to that in the beginning, even on the original, and still agrees to that in this particular proposal. Back in August of this year, the first request for the preliminary plat was applied for. The request was heard by the Planning Commission, and they sent it forward to the City Council with a 3-2 vote for denial. In the staff report to the City Council, it was pointed out that the reasons as stated in the motion for denial were not in accordance with state regulations governing preliminary plat reviews. When the plat reached the City Council, during their consideration of the plat, it was originally tabled on their first meeting. The council asked that the applicant go back and rework the design of the lots and asked that they be more in line with the adjoining subdivision. at least at the easterly boundary, the one that abuts the park there and that cul-de-sac area. The applicant went back and dropped out 5 lots from his proposal down to 157. He upsized the lots that border, and again, that was a misprint on my part, on the west boundary, the east boundary of the meadows, and bumped all those lots up to over 9,000 square feet, lots 1 through 9, and that was a change that was done there. At the second review with the city council after that tabling, the council by a vote of 3-2 denied the request with concerns about access for both current and future residents of the area, access for construction vehicles, and also the feathering of lots as discussed in the zone change process previously. The new proposal before you tonight has changed in the area of lot sizes allowed, and it's done in the following ways. The overall lot count has gone from the original 162 down to the proposed that you see of 150. The number of 6,000 square foot lots has gone from 102 down to a number of 51. The number of 7,000 square foot or greater lots has gone up from 26 to 43. The number of 8,000 square foot lots has gone up from 11 to 29. And the number of 9,000 square foot lots has gone up from 12 to 21. The number of 10,000 square foot or greater lots stayed the same, which is 6 of them. You can see I put in your reports, the side by side, and the difference and the percentages I put there. That really, you can see the changes that took place there. And if I may, I'll just pop that on the screen real quick. So again, I went through those numbers, but the percentages you can see changed a bit. I just put, on the relationship, the 6,000s used to be 65%. They're down now to 34%. Now the 7,000 square foot lots were only 16%, but are now 29. The 8,000s went from 7 up to 19%. The 9,000s jumped from 8% to 14. And again, the 12, the 10 and greater stayed at the same number, and their percentage actually stayed the same at 4%. So that's the changes on the new proposal there. The applicant has, once again, gone back and redesigned the lots, lowering the number of and adjusting the size of a large number of those lots, and has reapplied for the approval of the preliminary plat. In other words, they went back through the Planning Commission, a new application for this, which is before you tonight. Staff has been highly involved in that redesign and has once again reviewed the request. Staff strongly recommends approval with conditions of the preliminary plat as outlined. Now, I will point out, if the council may, that I didn't have any reports, but since that time I've just felt impressed with the things that have reoccurred, and now we're in our 4th meeting of this particular subdivision, and the same things have kind of been brought up by many of the property owners. And if I just may address a few of those and hopefully hit most of them. I think I went through and tried to get most of them, just so this is brought out. Questions have been raised about stormwater and the issues there. And staff just wants to state that there are state regulations regarding stormwater that the applicant will have to meet. There are city regulations that the applicant will have to meet. And it will be required to be done by an engineer with full design, and that'll come during construction design application. So that will be heavily scrutinized and looked at, as it is with any subdivision. We look at those stormwater issues. Also, the question of the sewer. Again, there are state regulations and city regulations that they'll have to apply to. They'll have to make the sewer work. We wouldn't allow anything that wouldn't. Again, that will be addressed during the construction design phase that would come at a later date. One of the biggest issues is access, both for regular traffic and for construction. Access has been addressed. Again, this will be the first plat that we've actually put, well, actually it'll be the second plat we put a limit on the number of lots that can only be applied for final plat. And it is 30, that he will be limited to that until another access is provided. No questions about it. So they still would like to address, like many others have, and put forth a full design of the property. It's just that will come at a future date in different phases. So again, the limit is there. It's a condition as approval at this point. Also to address that construction, he's tried to get construction access, but if a adjoining property owner does not join in, we can't force that adjoining property owner to give him that, and he can't be held because that other person will not allow that. And we've had many instances in the city where we've allowed that one access, and construction has had to go through there many times in the city. It's just what happens, not only in our city, but many cities. But that has been tried to be applied, and it still may come at a future time if that would even open up. Another one of the concerns was view protection. That's one thing a city does not have in their ordinance, and I don't know of any city that probably does, to restrict and protect someone's view. Just isn't possible for cities to have in their regulations. Again, because they're very objective. Views are. Some people don't care about seeing things, and other wants to have 360-degree views, and you just can't protect that all around you unless. And it's like I tell a lot of people, the only way to protect you and that view is if you own everything from your property to that view, and then you're the one who dictates what happens in there. Unfortunately, that's just the case. And there have been other issues that have been brought up in the 3 previous meetings. And they have to be addressed with just the simple answer that our standard zoning, which this is, the R16, doesn't allow the city to really regulate to require parks and trails and, landscape strips and many of the other things that have been sought for. Unfortunately, we do not have as required in our subdivision and in our standard zoning. For us to go out and force someone to do that would be putting us, I think, in a bad liability position to have to try to force any of those. The only way to do that is go back and address having all our subdivisions require those things, but they don't. And so we're kind of held to that standard of just those requirements that are. And again, many of the things that have been asked for, we just really can't do so legally to be required on those. Now, I will point out, before I do finish my report, is that staff was approached and asked if from the adjoining, I guess, properties, or I'm not going to specifically say exactly where, but it was asked that if the developer could just do one more favor for them at this point, knowing that we can't do all these other things, it was just asked if I would ask, which I did. And I approached Mr. Church and asked him that if he would be okay if we put a condition number 13 on, and that condition would be to restrict lots number 2, 3, and 4. This one and this one. Those lots border that cul-de-sac, the 3 lots in the cul-de-sac. It was asked that there would be a limit put on those 3 lots, that they would not be 2-story homes, but be limited to just be single-story homes. Mr. Church gladly accepted to do that. So I'm asking that a condition number 13 be placed if a motion goes forward to restrict lots 2, 3, and 4 to be single-story residential homes, which will then be transferred over on whichever phase they come in at. It'll be a general note on the plat that will limit lots 2, 3, and 4 to be single-story homes, and that will be recorded with the plat as a restriction there. And he was glad to do that. So with all that said, the Planning Commission did review this at their October 21st meeting, and the Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval of the preliminary plat for the Warner Gateway subdivision to the City Council, and based on the findings and subject to the conditions. And again, I will point out that 11 of those 12 that you see in your report are the standards. Number 11 is the one that I went back to, the condition that says only 30 lots will be able to apply for final plat status and be recorded until the time that alternative ingress and egress roads are made available through development to either the north or south boundary lines of the subdivision. And then, if I may, is to add condition number 13 stating that lots 2, 3, and 4 be limited to single-story homes, and stated as such in the general notes of the final plat. I'll be glad to answer any questions that the council might have for me we've brought this back before you, and I think we've, I just may real quick bring up there, I did some color drawings to help really show the significance of the change. And if I may, Mayor Pro Tem, just show those real quick before we get in. And
Certainly.
sorry, this won't be as good as the one they brought in. This is the one that staff just did with coloring highlighters. This was the plat that was denied by the city council. Last time was here a little over a month or so ago. And that pinkish area is the 6,000 square foot lots. The yellow highlighted area are sevens. The blue is 8,000 square foot lots. The orange are nines. And then the green colored lots are all the ones that are 10,000 and greater. And this was the proposal that was denied. And you can see the number, again, it was 102 of those 6,000 square foot lots. And then if I may show you the proposal, the new proposal, but in a color aspect. So the colors are close. They're a little bit different because they were able to put them on in the computer. But the reds are what the pink were, and you can see the significance in the number, the drastic number that are gone. And they are in places that I think that is a whole lot more acceptable next to the corridor, down to the more higher density project to the south. And then we're not sure what's going to come up in the BLM at a future date. But that's where the 6,000 square foot lots, again, there are 51 of them, but they're all put to the east side. And if you were to take the subdivision and divide it right in half, they would all be on the east half. So you have the 17 acres, so to speak, on the west that is all sevens, eights, and a lot of nines. As you can see, it's quite a drastic change. I think it's a marvelous improvement to what we had originally, even back from the original 162 lots. The project has come a long way. Again, meeting all the minimums and even beyond that within the zoning and subdivision regulations. So now I'd be more than glad to answer any questions the council would have for me.
Council, any questions for Drew?
I did have an email question about pump stations for the sewer. How is that addressed, or when is that addressed?
What state?
I had someone ask if they would be allowed to have pump stations for the sewer on the project. I've never had a question like that come up before.
And I will say most people don't want to go that route because they have a extremely high price tag on them. And I hope Mike will jump up and with me with that. But most people, I know we can't say no exactly, but we strongly encourage not to have pump stations or lift stations.
We actually have a requirement that I believe it has to be 5 times the amount to gravity feed before we'll even look at a sewer lift station. But a sewer lift station would be something that the developer would have to do all at his expense. And then anywhere we have sewer lift stations, there's an extra fee that's added on to the utility bill to help cover the cost of that lift station.
At first glance, does this look like a subdivision that would need something like that? You knowing the underground.
First glance, no, I think they should be able to gravity feed it. The main trunk lines that run up Washington Fields Road have actually been sized to handle all the future development in this area. So, but I mean, until we actually get construction drawings, it's really hard to tell. And that's when we will shake out anything with water, sewer, roadways, storm drainage, everything will be in the construction drawings. And we're very thorough on that end. Yeah, if it won't gravity flow, then, you know, it's pretty much, then there will be a lift station and they'll have to go through our process of approvals on that.
That would be at the expense of the homeowners, the homeowners association, the developer.
The developer, it'd be at the expense of the developer to put in the lift station. We do not allow little lift pumps at each home. So it'd have to be a regional lift station for that area. And then it also has to go through approval from Division of Water Quality. Once it's designed, it goes to them for approval as well.
Any other questions from the council? Any questions for the developer by chance?
I have one question for the developer.
Urban Church.
Just out of curiosity, you don't have to answer the question, but do you intend to develop the property out, or do you intend to put it on the market and sell the project?
Either options on the table.
Thank you.
I certainly want to tell Mr. Church, I appreciate his willingness to come back and work with our zoning and planning folks. I think we have a much improved development. Certainly appreciate your willingness to work with those neighbors, especially in pushing those smaller lots to the back and feathering. I think it looks like a nice project.
I'd like to compliment you too on the compromise.
If there's nothing else, I'll look to the council for a motion.
I'm going to give a motion here in just a minute, but before I do, what I would say to the neighbors that are here is we appreciate your input. This is how the process is supposed to work, and sometimes it doesn't work exactly how you want it to or how everyone wants it to, but hopefully at the end of the day, once it's built out, it will be a nice project. If there is some responsibility as to the smaller lot size, smaller than I think a lot of you would have hoped for, that responsibility should really be on us as council members. This project came before us several months ago, being within a certain general land use designation, which has differing sizes of zoning that can be applied for. And this particular piece came before us with an application for an R16 zoning. Typically over the years, and especially in the Fields area and in other areas, we've been very hesitant to give high density zoning. More recently, we have been willing to give some higher density zoning in exchange for the developers working with us in unique situations. And so when this came to us, that was the mindset that we had, is that in certain cases, in areas near this particular project, they had come and asked for higher density zoning. We had given it, but the plat that was brought forth was more consistent with the overall general plan land use designation, which typically meant lower density, bigger lots. This one caught us off guard, and we gave them an R16 zoning. The developer has brought forth a preliminary plat that fits within that R16 zoning. And we have vetted this to the point that we possibly can. Through that vetting process, we've made clear access now equals 30 final platted lots. We've made clear that future development requires a second access. We've done everything we can to reduce the number of lots, to feather the lots, to assure you that we're basically doing the best that we can to help this be a good neighboring project to yours. But at this point, we really have no basis other than to approve the project. And so with that said, I, who have on the record had many comments and even dissenting votes, we'll go ahead and make the motion that we approve this. So that said, I will motion that we approve the preliminary plat for the Warner Gateway located at approximately east of Marlberry Way, 4600 South, with the additional condition number 13 that will restrict lots 2, 3, and 4 to single-story homes, with that noted on the general notes of the plat.
Thank you. Thank you for that motion, Councilman Nyson.
I'll second that.
We have a second,
Nice and I.
Staley, aye.
and Turek, aye.
Can I ask that condition number 13 be modified to also include the lot just north of that?
Just north.
Lot number 5. So I actually live in the corner of that cul-de-sac, the northeast side of that. our view is diagonally northeast. And so a two-story home on that would block our view. If we could just get that one added to that
Let me
condition.
ask Mr. Church, would you have any opposition to that? Okay. We'll add that then
Thank
to
you
your
very
motion.
much.
Okay. That being done, we'll move on.
And number 9.
So,
Number 9 is right next to a home.
so, all right, item number 7. Public hearings and related ordinances. We have a public hearing for consideration to vacate 0.48 acres of platted roadway for the old Washington Fields Road alignment located at 2000 South and Washington Fields Road, applicant Washington City. Is this Mike? Is this you? Yeah. Practice that.
Mayor Pro Tem Council, this is kind of a housekeeping thing. It's something that we meant to do a few years back when we did the widening on Washington Fields Road. The Nyson family has the property to the west there. They brought it to our attention that we hadn't actually done the road abandonment there. So that's what we're doing, is we're trying to come back and fix something that we should have done a few years back. So this is abandoning the old Washington Fields Road alignment. And when we abandon back to the adjoining property owners on this section of road. The Nyson family has both sides, so we will be abandoning the complete right of way there back to the Nyson family.
Any questions for Mike concerning this? Okay, this is a public hearing. We'll go ahead and open it to the public. Any of you that may be here to speak to this item, we certainly invite you to come to the microphone and just make sure you state your name for the record. Looks like there's none. We'll look for a motion to close.
I'll make a motion that we close the public hearing.
Motion to close by Councilman Nyson,
I'll second.
second by Councilman Staley.
Nice and I.
Staley, aye.
And Turek, aye. Item 7B, consideration to approve an ordinance vacating the old alignment for the Washington Fields Road.
I'll make the motion that we approve the ordinance vacating the old alignment for the Washington Fields Road.
Okay, the motion by Councilman Nyson,
I'll second the motion.
second by Councilman Staley,
Nice night.
Staley, aye.
and Turek, aye. All right, item 8, agreements. Drug Task Force Interlocal Agreement, Police Chief Jim Keith.
Good evening, Council, Mayor Pro Tem, City Manager. Thank you for entertaining this. This is simply a opportunity to clean up an old agreement that was in place. As you all know, the Washington County Task Force is a great asset to our community. They're doing great things and a lot of work. And this simply cleans up some of that language to make it current with legal statute items now. And the way that basically the practices of the task force and processes that the task force is operating under right now. So it's nothing major, but any questions?
Yeah, a quick question for you, Chief. So did this agreement or this amendment, was this instigated by the county? And is this the same agreement that's going to the other cities within?
Yes, it's the same agreement. It was actually our executive board, which I'm part of. Got together with the county attorney's office, who sits on there as a board member as well, and decided it was time to bring it more current and in line with what we're doing and some of the legal side of things. That's all it was. And so it's gone to most of the other cities already. trying to get it wrapped up this month.
Anything of particular note that changes from the old to the new?
No, not specifically. There was, towards the end of it, just basically changed the name of the executive board versus it was termed prior. No real substantive changes in it at all, other than just clearing it up and the legal side of it to make it current with current statute. So,
The best I could tell, it almost kind of made some clarifications versus, funding and some
Right.
of those things that were become clarified where before it was just kind of the way it fell in place.
yeah, and the funding piece that's mentioned in here, a lot of grants and stuff for funding, which they
Understood.
still are, but our personnel that are part of that, we own that responsibility to fund that position and those kinds of equipment items and things that go with them. So.
Illegal drugs, that it's a little more of a sophisticated group you're dealing with than you would have been dealing with back when. I don't think it had anything to do with the agreement itself, though.
Oh, there's nothing in the agreement that deals with that at all. It's just really basically language and legal changes in statutes that have been
Changed over
clarified. As far as the drug operations themselves, yeah, they're continuing to grow and develop in many different ways, but this agreement doesn't really address that specifically. Yeah.
First done, deal with a lot more of a either sophisticated group or just a lot more of the group that
Right.
your task force has to deal with.
Absolutely.
Well, I certainly think that the task force is a great, great asset to our community. I certainly appreciate your
Does the-
willingness to be a part of that.
Thank you.
Does the city department know when the task force is in the city limits working?
Yes, yeah, we have all of the cities in the county are participating in the task force. All of the major cities, let me put it that way. There are a couple, but and all of our officers collectively work. All of the county area is needed, but each individual officer from each agency focuses on the problems we have here, and then collectively they work together. Obviously, you understand that one guy or two guys can't do that operation when it comes time to take care of business, and so it's done collectively as a task force.
Well, that's having had a little experience with an event, to see how this task force collaborates with our own department. We had an issue a few years ago out of our community center, and it was amazing to me how fast information was relayed back from the task force about the person involved. I mean, they knew when he'd come to town, how long he'd been here. It was like, wow. I mean, it was amazing to me.
Yeah.
How and they were so quick to correspond. I mean, it's great to see the correspondence and the working together, because sometimes in these types of situations, you get those agencies that try to butt heads, and that is not the case happening here. So
Got a great working relationship in this county that's probably second to none in the state with agencies working together. So
great. Any other questions concerning the agreement? We'll look for a motion then.
Council Starkey, are we looking for a motion to approve this new agreement? Because I also noticed that there was a resolution.
Yeah.
Are we looking for approve the resolution authorizing an amendment to the interlocal agreement?
Practically speaking, probably what we do would be to accept and approve the agreement via the resolutions. We have a resolution for it. Maybe we'll move on to just approving the agreement through the resolution and just mix it in one. I think that's how they set it up. I agree. Yes.
Okay.
if I might, we're trying to get this done, to get it finalized throughout the county. So if we could do it all in one, that'd be great. Can make it work.
I think
Yeah.
that's
Okay.
what we're going to do. And this Council Staley's got his
Thank you.
motion ready here. So
And if I'm off base, just jump in, please, okay? I usually like to lean on these attorneys who are on either side of me for the tough ones, so I'm going to take a stab. I'm going to use your words there, Council Starkey, and make a motion that we accept and approve an agreement with the Washington Drug Task Force interlocal agreement to amend that agreement through the resolution.
We have a motion.
I'll
Council
second
Staley,
that.
Second by Council Nyson.
Nice night.
Staley, aye.
Rick, aye. All right. Okay. Item number 9, report of officers from assigned committees. Anything to report from our committees?
I don't.
The Youth Council's been fun and been active, doing a lot of things. And they will be in the parade tomorrow, and they've been in other parades and done some other activities in service. They were at the grand opening of the Sullivan Soccer Park, handing out
Had a
food and
Great
hot
service
dogs,
down
so-
there. Yeah, they're
So they're doing a great job. CEC TV, the Community Education Channel is here. They're doing a great job. Those are the boards that I serve on, so.
I was hoping that you'd share with them that they're going to be here tomorrow at our event, shooting.
Yes, thank you. Yes, that's, and one of the things that's needed, obviously, the cities within the county, along with some other entities, help fund this community television station, that they are really committed to getting content from the cities. So they'll be here tomorrow for our Veterans Day parade and program. They've done that at least last year, maybe a little bit the year before even. And so they're doing more and more as they'll hit a lot of those city and county events along with the Dixie State events. So it's really an asset to the city. You can watch it on southernutahlive.com or on TDS. I think it's channel 22, but you'd be surprised at how many people watch these meetings and how many people are just intrigued by local content as opposed to so many other things, most of them not worthy of watching, that are on our television these days. So
Well, we certainly appreciate Council Staley. I was there as he fulfilled his responsibilities and was talking with CEC about those future events and scheduling them. So it's because of Council Staley that they know of those events and are here to shoot them. So we certainly appreciate that report. Item number 10, City Manager Report.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Just a couple items that first of all, thanks to the council and particularly a thanks to the community for the great turnout we had at the opening of the Sullivan Virgin River Soccer Park. That is going to be just an absolutely fantastic facility, and you can just see the excitement with the teams there and with all those that came, the youth council and everybody else who came to just welcome. And they didn't even mind walking a ways in many cases to get there. We certainly please express our appreciation to the police department. Again, we would ask that the public kind of not do any really heavy competitive play on those fields until about February. They are being overseeded right now, and we want to let that grass season as well. And we've now ordered the traffic signal also for that intersection.
That was my question, because we saw the need. Now, so good.
Now that doesn't mean it'll come next week. We still got a delay
We
on
got
that.
till February, right?
Yeah, so we're going to keep our fingers crossed that works out. But anyway, that was a great event. 3650 South project down there on the south of Staley Farms. That's about 60% complete, should be completed on December 20th. To mention that because we've had some calls, we are having some settling issues again on Telegraph up near the Highland area. Now, though, if you haven't noticed, sometimes I try to get people to stop looking at the crack and look at the nice safety improvements we've done off the side of the road. There's some great safety improvements, and that came with some safety grant money, and we are grateful for that. But Mike and his crew is working on what might be our next steps with regards to that settling issue. We're in design on our downtown storm drainage issues, and we're actually working on, I actually attended a meeting with 5 County last week, because one of the things we're looking at is possibly trying to get some CDBG or community development block grant money to help with the downtown. That, of course, is HUD money, Housing and Urban Development money, that comes to the cities in the form of a grant. And so you'll be actually have scheduled in your meeting in December a first of potentially two public hearings with regards to consideration of that as a project. It's a requirement. We don't know if we're going to use it yet, and the reason it's kind of becomes a math figure for us, because once you start to mix local dollars with federal dollars, you have a whole set of requirements, including Davis-Bacon wages, sometimes some limited environmental, and So once you start adding that up, you could be given $100,000 and find out the project now just went up $300,000. So that's why we kind of do the math on that, and we make sure that it makes sense to the city. But we're certainly going to pursue every avenue we can for the public to try to reduce any cost that we can, both with storm drainage, whether it's curb, gutter, and sidewalk, whether it's irrigation and other things that we have talked about over the last year or two downtown. Just two other items. The Utah Association of Municipal Power Systems annual meeting is coming up. That comes up in December. If any of the council has an interest in attending that, please see me and we'll get you all registered. And then, as most people can see, the police station is coming along very well. The brickwork, it's absolutely beautiful with the brickwork. I'd say the brickwork is probably more than halfway, not much more, but probably a little bit more than halfway done, and they're painting on the inside. And so that kind of tells you where we're coming along with that. I believe we're still looking at sometime in the month of January of being completed with that. The other thing that's probably of even more importance to the public is we're hoping within the next few days to open the drive-through or the drive-up window again for utility payments. And but we want to get it striped because after 20 years of making people go the opposite direction, I think that UDOT calls those inverted diamonds. But since we've had 20 years of moving people the opposite direction through that side of the building, that's now going to be fixed. But we're not going to let it start going through till they know we fixed it. So we'll do some striping first before we open that over there, and then we'll have the drop box right in the middle. And so you don't have to go to the left side. You know, you can just right way. So, but that's a beautiful building, and we're excited about what that's, and we appreciate the citizens, the community support. They've been very supportive of this. So. Other than that, council, if there's any questions, I can answer those.
Quick question, and maybe it's for Mike. Woods on Washington Fields Road, looks like they were part of the way down. And
Yeah, so I've answered a few of those questions already. That land is, and Council Staley knows this, and we all love big trees. We all love big trees, but
especially in the desert, right?
Especially in the desert, and we know that those trees take a long time to get to that stage. This is property owned by the Washington County School District, and you've seen the big trucks moving, and they're in preparation for doing the development there, and the trees just didn't fit in the development. I guess that's the easiest way to say it. So we've consoled as many people as we can.
The other day, they were about halfway down. Are they gone now? Or if not, it'd be nice to see them just, if they're going to go.
Well, there's,
You know,
I was by there this morning and there's no green left on them. Let's put it that way.
yeah, I know. It's
just
almost
just
more
a stump.
painful. The reminder as I drive to work. I don't know if they can just get those babies out of there. It'd be nice.
The contractor's got an issue with it because there's a lot of utilities actually that are underneath those gas line and telephone lines that are underneath and the roots. So they've got to be very careful how they actually take them down. But normally they leave that stump up, they'll reach with the excavator and they can just tip them over.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, it's been, 5 days or a week that it's been.
But they're working with the gas company and the phone company to make sure that they're not going to rip the lines out of the ground when they take them down.
Yeah, it certainly changed the face of that, didn't the council and I?
But you know what? It's going to look really nice too. About the first of the year, we're going to be doing some major improvements on Washington Fields Road. So we'll plant some more trees. Maybe no trees in the plan.
Being on the shade tree board, we'll work on that,
Belliston
Councilman.
Well, I will point out, that's a good question, because I will point out, because this one was somewhat the responsibility of Washington City, the big tree there at what is the Harmon property was taken out, and that was due to the widening of the road. But we did plant, so a new generation is coming. It's now outside of the right of way though, that's good. But so a new generation of trees are coming, so just everybody hang in there for 50 years.
There we go.
Mayor Pro Tem, if anyone on the council wants to volunteer to proofread city's response to the BLM's RMP, it'll be coming up this weekend, so I'm taking volunteers right now. Or even suggestions for volunteers for those who aren't here today.
If you're going to volunteer for that, we have other volunteer options.
Well, we appreciate your work on getting that put together and just make sure it gets submitted. That's the important thing. So, all right, item number 11, we'll look for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Motion by Council Nyson.
I'll say.
Second, Council Staley.
Nice and I.
Staley, aye.
And Turek, aye. We are adjourned.